conducted, including numerous ones with skeletal remains. The experience that she has is unparalleled in DeKalb County, in Fulton County, in Gwinnett County, and across the metro Atlanta area. Never seen it, ever. And what she did tell me was that she was very suspicious of this being homicidal violence, based on the circumstances of what happened. A 16-year-old girl ending up naked in the middle of the woods in Decula, Georgia, on the side of Highway 316. No way to get there, no messages, no anything. That this is a homicide. She said, I have to be consistent. I have to be consistent. I didn't find skeletal trauma, so I can't say homicide. I just can't say the word homicide. But it's very suspicious of homicidal violence. There's no way she could have gotten out there to her location. And what's more, and you'll hear yet again here in a moment, the defendant definitively told you this wasn't an accident. If you recall, in the interview that he gave, he foreclosed every single theory, reasonable theory that Ms. Drake is trying to convince you is reasonable. He said it didn't happen. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't an overdose. It wasn't some opiate. It wasn't that. He told you in the interview it wasn't an accident. And what's also interesting, 3.5 hours of hearing from detectives about how his gun is found feet away from Susana Morales, the missing 16-year-old girl. He came into play completely dumb, but we all know that's a complete fabrication. He had done research on her for the entire 196 days. So he knew exactly everything that was going on, despite playing dumb to the detectives. He never asked one time how she died. He never said, was she shot with my gun? My gun's out there. It's because he knows how she died. Dr. Terry told you, it is particularly suspicious of strangulation. And that's relevant because the DNA, they didn't find DNA in the truck, right? If she had been shot or stabbed in the truck or before and put in the truck, there'd probably be blood everywhere, and you can't hide that. If she had overdosed, there'd be vomit. They found no traces of that, right? It's based on all of that, and Dr. Terry told you, extremely suspicious of strangulation, of an asphyxial form of death, strangulation. We found the defendant's gun. You see the photographs. You have the gun. It's his serial number, reported stolen that night. The next night. This is him.
So yesterday, I don't know what time, man. I went running around here. I did a bunch of stuff yesterday. And I came back. I went to the store and everything. I had it at the store, and I came back. I went running everything, and then my girl was finna leave. I was like, I got my wallet. I don't know where my wallet at. So I can't find my wallet. And then this morning, I worked doorbell. I was getting my dry cleaner. I got to work tonight. And then I looked on my floorboard, and the my Glock 19 holster is on the floorboard. And my Glock 19 is always together, you know?
Right.
So, I hate to say, I think I left my door. They ain't smashed the window or nothing. I fucked around, left my door on.
A police officer sworn to tell the truth, to uphold the law, wears a badge, has the responsibilities and obligations that come with that. But yet, he's standing there telling another police officer a complete lie, an absolute fabrication, that he left his doors unlocked and somebody came and took his gun. And you don't even have to think hard about that one because Ms. Drake told you that's a complete lie. But he is standing there to another law enforcement officer. This isn't some just last minute cover-up. This is him making significant conscious decisions to lie and cover up and create some elaborate tale of what happened that night. This is at 10:30, approximately in the morning, July 27th. And what's important about that? At 9:35, he is in the woods. Less than an hour before he makes this report. He's in the woods looking for the gun. He's out there trying to find it as he dropped it. 9:43, he's already headed back at this point to his apartment complex. By 9:43, he's driving back on 316 past Lawrenceville. Goes directly back to his apartment and calls the police to report the gun stolen. Innocent people don't do that. Innocent people don't call the police and make up wild allegations. There's this line in his interview where he's, I wouldn't do this because I wouldn't want to jeopardize my career. That is complete nonsense. Every piece of evidence you've seen in this case is the defendant making a conscious decision not to torch his career. He doesn't care. He wants to use the badge. He wants to use the uniform to do whatever he wants to do to victimize women. That is the defendant. At 10:30, less than an hour after being in the woods, comes back and calls the Gwinnett County Police Department and sits there, cold and calculated, talking to Officer Merkley. You watch the whole video. Oh, I want to come work for Gwinnett County. Maybe I'll put in a thing, and they're just shooting the breeze. Like nothing ever happened. Absolutely nothing. It's unimaginable. This is at 10:30 in the morning. We're talking about 9 hours before this. He is in the woods dumping a lifeless, naked 16-year-old girl in the woods, and yet 9 hours later he is standing there, just as fine as can be. It didn't affect me. You know what? I'm going to cover up the gun stuff too. And they were absolutely right in his interview. He did it because he knew that if they ever found the gun and he hadn't reported it stolen, he'd be prime suspect number one. But Detective Carter told you it almost worked, right? Because when they found the gun and they ran it and it had been stolen, they thought maybe it was the same person who did it, right? Maybe somebody broke into the apartment complex in his car, took the gun, and kidnapped Susanna. Right? That was his plan. His calculated, manipulative decisions in order to mislead everybody who might look into his case. And 9 hours later, despite having carried her life or drugged her lifeless body through the woods and dropped it there, he's fine as can be, talking about coming to working for Gwinnett County. Coming to working for, because he's at Doraville. He's at the Doraville Police Department, where the chief got him a job. Because he knows the chief and played basketball with him. But just as fine as can be. It was last night, I was going around, I was going to the store, and then I don't know what happened to it. I had it last night when I was at the store. No. That's a complete lie. All of this is complete fabrication by the defendant. He lied about his wallet being stolen. For the life of me, the same day he reported it, he used his bank card in McDonald's to buy McDonald's. And again, another red herring. Maybe it could have been Apple Pay. No, it's not Apple Pay. Detective Carter told me. She got the same bank account. It doesn't show up this way. He used his bank card. You saw Officer Viat in his body camera video in January 2023. He had his wallet. He had his military ID. He had his police ID. He had all of his cards. He had his bank cards. You saw he never went to replace his driver's license. He's a police officer. You're going to have a driver's license. You know the law. You can't be driving around without a driver's license. You have to have it on your person. Never asked for a new driver's license. Ever. Complete lies about all of it. His phone records. What they do show is that night when Susanna was taken and kidnapped, he was in the exact same area. Same tower, same sector, he's there. Yet, a few hours later, he's in the woods with her body. Her phone's not there. Her phone is back at where it was left and thrown out of the vehicle. You heard this phone call to Esmeralda. He blocked his phone number, his work phone number, his City of Doraville police-issued phone number to call one of the main witnesses in the case to Susanna's disappearance, Esmeralda, her best friend. And he blocked, and just so that we can be sure that is working correctly, he calls his own personal phone seconds before to test it out, to make sure that it is working and that Star 67 is blocking his phone number. He doesn't identify himself as a police officer. He doesn't identify himself as a courtesy officer. He doesn't identify who he is or why he's interested. He just calls up Susanna's best friend to pry into what the police know and what's going on with the case. Because this is July 30th. This is 3 days after he murdered her and dumped her body in the woods. That he is calling Esmeralda. As they're posting the flyers, anyone with information, please help. He didn't offer his help. He didn't offer his assistance. He didn't say, let me help look for her. Because he knew where she was. Because he had killed her and brought her out to the woods and left her body there. He called to cover his tracks. He wanted to know what the police already knew, or what the investigation showed, or whether they had found anything. And he's covering his tracks. You saw the download of cell phones. How long does it take a body to decompose? Those are the searches that he's making in his phone. For 196 days, not offering any help in finding her, not telling anybody where she's at, not doing any of that, he's searching for how long does it take a body to decompose. He's researching over and over and over again. Gwinnett County News and unsolved murders and Gwinnett teen found. Right? Those are the searches that he's doing. Right? They can stand up here and try to convince you of whatever now, but his own words, his own typing and texting into his phone shows what he's doing during this period of time. Not only that, he is spending a lot of time tracking his own girlfriend. GPS trackers, how to plug them into CRV to her car. He's using the flock, which I'll show you here in a minute, to search for synovia. The overwhelming majority of 845 searches, overwhelming majority. He's sitting in his police car, or his truck, and he is tracking synovia. He is looking for cell tower maps and Verizon towers, wanting to know what towers are going to document his locations during this period of time. You saw here, again, searches for Channel 2 Gwinnett. How are you identified by dental records? Days after her body's found. Days after. He's looking up cameras, traffic cameras. Did somebody catch me? Did some camera see me? He made a lot of searches for QT. You saw them in the record. I mean, just scrolling at this record after record of looking at maps based on QTs and to the Q. Yet, right after he does that, he comes into court or into the interview and plays dumb about QT. I don't know which one I was at. Maybe it was this one. And I don't know. He had researched everything. He already knew that they were coming. At some point, if somebody found the gun, they were going to come talk to him. And he had already done all of that looking. What is particularly interesting here is his Google records. July 28th. And that one is a day and a half, 2 days after Susanna's disappearance. Gwinnett County unsolved murders. He's not searching for Gwinnett County unsolved accidental deaths, Gwinnett County overdose deaths, Gwinnett County this or that. He's searching for Gwinnett County unsolved murders. He's also on the same night, hours after he dumped her body there, naked, searching for flock. Going through flock, and as you saw, those records can put you places. Those license plate readers can put you places. And he starts researching. At that time, that's at 4:48 in the morning on July 27th. That's just a matter of hours after he was in the woods. Right after her body is discovered, he starts trying to look up or look at the P2P data sharing. Right as he's searching for all of these other things. This was particularly interesting. A news story unrelated in every way to Susanna's death about a different woman who was found in the woods dead. And a Duluth man being arrested for a 19-year-old woman found in the woods. And immediately, after reading that police story, or that news story, he pulls up his city-issued laptop, pulls up Google Maps, and looks right where he dumped her body. And he's researching that whole area. Scrolling around, you saw, hundreds and hundreds of map points there as he's researching the entire area where he left her body, minutes after finding this news story. You saw the flock records. On July 31st, 4 days after he dumped her body in the woods, he's running his own license plate. His own truck license plate. He's using police resources, yet again, in an unauthorized way. He's not allowed to do this. But yet he's searching his own, and then he used that to stalk Zenobia, to track her, to know where she's at, to use police resources to track his girlfriend. I want to talk to you just very briefly about his intent and his motive. There is a charge in there, in the charges that you're going to get, that says that the state doesn't have to prove motive. It's not an element of murder. Motive is not an element. Motive is the why. Why did he do it? Why did he kill her? I may have to go my entire life without knowing the answer. And I don't have an answer about exactly what was going through his mind that night. But we have some really good clues as to what it was. The defense wants you to believe that the defendant, some other explanation other than he cold-blooded murdered Susanna. Maybe there's something else, despite not being able to point at any evidence of that. They want you to believe that. And we're talking about less than 24 hours after Susanna has disappeared. And even less than that, 19 hours after he's in the woods, dumping her body, after he murdered her, he is back on shift as a Doraville police officer. Nobody knows. He's the only one, right? And he's not sitting there contemplating life, and he's not sitting there thinking about, man, I can't believe that just happened. That was crazy, something horrible, terrible. 16-year-old girl is dead, and now she's naked in the woods, and I dumped her body there. No. He walked into QT, and with his badge and his gun and his uniform, goes up to the manager of QT and asks to borrow her phone. But he didn't borrow it to look at his Chase bank account. He started going through her personal, intimate, hidden folders and texting himself videos of her masturbating. Less than 24 hours. The same day. Earlier that same day, he is in the woods with Susanna's naked body. Naked. 16-year-old girl. He doesn't even wait a full day. Not even one full day to go and steal sexual videos of another completely innocent woman. Susanna was murdered. Left there. And instead of showing any form of remorse, showing any signs of this being accidental or something else being responsible, he doubles down on his sexual deviancy and goes and steals sexual videos from Yesenia Lanius. And she testified to you, and I felt bad that she had to get on the stand and watch that in front of you. Those are her private, personal videos. And he thought nothing else about going into her phone and violating her privacy. You heard about Alicia Bates. That's a police officer, y'all. Police officer, a National Guard member, wearing his military uniform, saying that, oh, she invited him over. You can see at the end of this, that door handle remains stuck in a down position. He tried to push the door open so hard that that door handle wouldn't even return to an upright position. He tried to break into Alicia Bates' apartment. December 10th, 2022. This is after Susanna. This is 5 months after he's left her there and her body has been rotting in the woods. He's stalking Elisha Bates. He wants you to believe that.
Well, maybe there was some. Where are the text messages?
You have there's them right there. Y'all can look at them.
Elisha didn't invite him over.
In fact, you got to see a screenshot from October 15th of 2022. It's in there.
Go look at it and pull it up. October 15th, 2022.
There's some text messages between the two of them, and that's the one where he says, "Hey, are you home? Let's link up. Let's hang out. I'll be around that area in a little bit. Right? I'm going to be there in a little bit." He had already been there. There's a screenshot of him there an hour before. He showed up unannounced to her apartment. When she wasn't there, he waited around and then texted her an hour later, "Hey, you're going to be around. I'm going to be in that area in a while." No, he was already there. You heard the 911 calls from Elisha, terrified, whispering that she's there with her boyfriend and a gun to defend herself. And why? Because the police never showed up. They never came out there when she thought. She told you, they called me, but they didn't even send a car. Right? You heard the dispatcher on the phone, didn't believe her. Right? What? And that's interesting. The dispatcher didn't believe her. This doesn't make any sense. It's something else you're not telling me. Right? It doesn't make any sense. Why a uniformed police officer, a officer with a Doraville Police Department, a SWAT member, a National Guard member, would be stalking and harassing this young woman. She didn't invite him over. She didn't lead him on. There are no messages to that. She provided the messages between them. He keeps contacting her and wanting to hang out. And then after all of this is said and done, after he shows up, after the police are called, even the second time now she's called the police, and even after that, what does he do? He uses his police access for GCIC on his laptop to go in and pull Elisha Bates's information. Something that he cannot do. It is a violation of the law to do. He doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care about the law in any way. He said in his interview, "I don't like thieves. That's the kind of crime I want to investigate." He is a thief. He steals girls' photographs. He steals their personal identifying information. And he uses his police resources to do it. There's a statement he made in his interview, "I wouldn't do that. I have morals." No, sir, you don't. He doesn't have morals.
He's not a moral man.
He's not a good man.
He's not a good officer. He's not a good National Guard member. He's evil. He's a monster and a predator.
And he uses his badge and his uniform to do it.
Why is Susanna found naked?
There is absolutely no reason on planet Earth that she should be naked. There's no evidence that she knew and or would ever voluntarily spend time with the defendant, talk to the defendant, have sex with the defendant, hook up with him. She is on her road, steps from her house, before she is snatched up off the street and ends up dead, completely naked. Michael Jones told you.
He told you when he got his evidence in the case, went through the evidence.
You've seen boxes. You said, "Oh, we've had boxes. There's been files. There's stacks of evidence. There's all kinds of things."
When he got that and he started looking through it, came out of his cell, Michael Jones, and the only comment he had to say was, "They can't connect me to the body because they didn't find my blood or semen on her." I'm sorry, what?
You didn't find your blood or semen on her.
Who says that?
Who says that they didn't find my semen on her if you didn't rape her?
If there's no chance of it being on there, why would it be on his mind? It makes absolutely no sense.
The reality is, Susanna's a beautiful 16-year-old girl, and the defendant, who has a problem with preying on women, young women, beautiful women, snatched her off the street and raped her and dumped her body and killed her.
And his only comment is that we can't tie him to the body because there's no blood or semen. Mr. Drake told you that the defendant that Mr. Jones came forward before his sentencing on escape. And she's trying to convince you that maybe he had some kind of ulterior motive. That is a lie. Or maybe just a misstatement or misremembrance. I watched it again last night. Mr. Jones said, precisely, when she asked him, did you contact the DA's office before or after your escape? He said after. That's what he said. He had nothing to gain. He had nothing to... And again, Ms. Drake even asked him, well, are you hoping that something's going to happen? What was his answer? Nobody's going to do anything for me. What did he say about me? Mr. Delfunt has never offered me a single thing, offered to help me in any way. Mr. Jones has got no involvement in this case. He is absolutely, in every way, unrelated as a non-party. He just so happened to know the defendant in the jail. And the defendant confided in him information that we can't tie him to the body because we don't have his blood or his semen. And then says, when and if I go to prison. When I go to prison. What's it like? They talk about the death penalty. And it says, this is the only one they've got me charged with. The defendant's own statements, his own state of mind in the jail is that he's going to get convicted because he did this. His own state of mind is, can I get the death penalty for this? Because I did this. Right? And when he sees the evidence, is excited that we can't tie him to the body because he sat there for 196 days not saying anything to anybody and we couldn't get any DNA or semen. His story, this is what was said in the opening. You're going to hear from Miles Bryant. He's going to explain to you exactly what happened. You're going to know the full truth, why Mr. Miles lied to the police and why he reported his gun stolen. That's what was said to you in opening. What you heard was, I have morals, I wouldn't do that. What you heard is that the defendant murdered Susanna. You heard from him in his interview.
Did she try to rob you? You did say, listen, just hear me out, okay? When I tell you I got your back, trust me, okay? You said your holster's in the passenger seat because we've been playing this forever. We got this information last week, but we haven't come and run up on you because we're not worried. We don't think, you know what I'm saying? The holster is in your passenger seat floorboard. Did Susanna try to take it?
No, I literally never seen her.
Susanna didn't try to rob him.
This is the moment where you're like, okay, yes, I fucked up. That's not what I'm supposed to do. That's not what was supposed to happen. Her and I were together. I know you're stressed out. I'm not going to go tell Dorva you were smoking weed. So you went out there with her to smoke weed and she had bad weed. You know what I'm saying?
No. I never smoked weed. None. That time, nothing.
Okay.
God, this looks bad.
God, this looks bad. Yes, it does. Here.
Were you trying to help her and she was already dead when you found her?
No.
She wasn't already dead when he found her.
You were involved with her? She's 16. I don't give a fuck what y'all had going on. You talked about all these side pieces you had. Yeah. If you had a side piece with her, cool. Just tell us that.
No.
Okay.
No.
He tells you so?
Did your girlfriend kill her? Because
no.
Cause
your girlfriend see her and then lose her shit and kill her, then you're like, oh fuck, my girlfriend just killed her, let me go dump this body out in the woods.
No.
Reality is, the defendant, during his interview, you heard them. You heard his statements. His version of events to you, the jury, is that he didn't know her. He had never seen her. She was never in his truck. He didn't dump her in the woods. He didn't drop his gun. He didn't do any of those things. Right? Given every opportunity to explain and give some reasonable explanation, no, she didn't rob me. No, she didn't die of an overdose. No, Zenobia didn't kill her. She wasn't already dead when I found her. He has answered those questions for you. They are not reasonable.
He said that she was never in his truck.
I literally was by myself. You talk to my girlfriend. When she came up to the front of my truck, stuff like that, nobody was in my truck.
She wasn't there with you.
Who?
Your girlfriend wasn't there with you out there on 316.
No, but when she came at the apartment complex stuff, nobody was in my truck.
Nobody was in his truck.
Well, that's an obvious lie. Mr. Drake's already told you he's guilty of the false report of a crime. What does that mean? It means he lied about his gun being taken out of his truck. Well, what does that mean? That means he dropped it in the woods. It had a light on it, and he dropped it in the woods, using it as a flashlight. And if he's out there in the woods with his gun at Susanna's body, then he left her there. He dumped her naked body there. You can follow the bouncing ball. It's not hard. His says she was never in his truck. That's an obvious lie. He drove his truck out there with her dead body in it and dumped her out in the woods.
I mean, you were in the woods, literally over her dead body. How do you not see that?
Your gun was right there, dude.
I was out there with her bones and with your gun. Literally just looking, wow, look at that.
We
Look at that,
consider
so
ourselves good detectives, but a lot of times we don't. A lot of times we don't find the gun.
Yeah, I can't.
But when the gun is sitting right there, it's right there.
You want to see a picture of your gun? I took a picture when it was sitting in the woods. There it is. Not buried, not thrown, not hidden. Just sitting there with natural pine straw falling on top like you mistakenly dropped it.
He told you, I didn't make a false report of a crime.
You know, and even as we looked into my car got broken into. You know, when people go grabbing door handles because you left your truck unlocked, right?
Yeah.
What do? They grab hundreds of door handles. Guess how many entering autos happened that night?
No.
Just yours. 0.
So you said yourself earlier, your complex gets hit all the time.
Yeah.
Multiple people.
Nope.
How is it just convenient for you that your truck is the only one that gets broken into in the back of the complex? We're not stopping at any other building along the way. They're going straight to Miles's truck, and that's it.
Understand.
Because that was a false report of a crime.
It was not.
Because you dropped your gun in the woods.
No, I didn't.
I think you were using your weapon light as a flashlight to figure out where you're going to dump her.
No. I have plenty of flashlights. I don't know. I wouldn't even do that.
Yet, here today, you heard the exact opposite of that. You heard, he did do that. He made a false report of crime. He said, no, I didn't. Mr. Drake told you, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And it's obvious. And which is why she said it. Because to stand up here and say he didn't in the face of the overwhelming, monumental evidence that he did is just absurd. Right? So, I get the defense strategy, right? I've got to stand up here and admit what I have to because it's undeniable, but then try to convince you that everything else is a lie, right? That everything else in the case is a lie. The one thing that is, the 100%, I'll admit that. But the rest of it, try to mislead you that that's not true, right? That maybe some mystery thing happened that there's no evidence for. The defendant told you,
Well, you have some sort of part in it. There's no other way you could have all this on this incident. There's no other way unless you have a part in it.
I have no part in it.
It's impossible.
That's a bold-faced lie.
He also told you he didn't even know where Susanna lived.
Do you know where, Susanna didn't live in your complex, but do you know kind of where she lived?
From what I've seen, she lived nearby.
Like where?
I have no clue. She said it said she was walking home, and I don't know. She said she lived nearby, so I guess it'd be in the area. I don't think she lived in that apartment complex though.
And Ms. Drake brought up the fact in that previous clip, he slips up. He slips up and says, she said that she lived nearby. And as evidence for, they must have had a conversation. And I didn't say that they did. Ms. Drake said, in order to kidnap somebody, you just got to snatch them up out of the car, off the street. You just got to stop your truck and violently drag them into your vehicle. No, you don't. Did he offer her a ride to her house? I don't know. Right? There's no evidence of that. Did he talk to her? We don't know. There's no evidence of that. Right? What we do know is that once he encountered her, she never saw the light of day again. He snatched her up at some point and drove off with her, threw her phone out of the window, and killed her and dropped her lifeless body in the woods. That's what we know. And that there's no other reasonable explanation for his conduct that night. I created a list of the defendant's lies, and I had to create a list because there were so many. I couldn't count them on my hands. So I wrote them down. I didn't go into the woods. That's lie number one. I didn't stand over her body. That's a lie. I didn't drop my gun. That's a lie. My truck was broken into. That's a lie. My truck was unlocked. That's a lie. My holster was on the floor and wasn't, somebody took the gun out of my holster. That's a lie. My wallet was taken. That's a lie. I never got out of my truck. That's a lie. We showed you the physical activity sensors on his phone. As Susanna is walking home and disappears, he's walking around. He told the police he spent the entire night in the truck. He said he drove around all night. He even said when he was doing reports later at the QT, he was sitting in his vehicle. Never said he got out of his vehicle. Not one time. On the side of Highway 316, sitting in his vehicle. Yet hour after hour after hour, it shows him walking. And it shows him traveling hundreds of meters. Consistent with him dragging a body through the woods in the middle of Tequila from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. on the 27th. From midnight to 1 a.m. on the 27th. He is moving. He is not sitting in his vehicle. As Susanna is walking home at 10 p.m., he's not. He gets out of his vehicle and he is walking around. He is a liar. He did not stay in his vehicle. No one was in my truck. That's a lie. My license was stolen. That's a lie. I called police when I found my wallet. No, he didn't. Detective Carter told you there isn't a single call to the police department documenting that he ever reported that he found his wallet. Moreover, he said in the interview, well, I lost Officer Merkley's card. I don't know what happened to it. They found it in his truck. When they searched it, right there. Officer Merkley's business card with the case number for the stolen report. He didn't lose it. He didn't want to call. He didn't call. That's a lie. I didn't dump her body. That's a lie. I wouldn't jeopardize my career. Obviously a lie. I didn't throw her phone out of the window. That's a lie. I didn't make a false report. That's a lie. I didn't know that girl. He obviously is lying. He picked her up that night and killed her. I've never seen her. I had nothing to do with this. Nothing happened between us. I don't know where she lived. I wasn't in front of her house. Yes, he was. His vigilant records show him parked right at the next door of her house. Stopped, stationary, parked a month after her disappearance in front of her mother's house. As her mother still didn't know where she was, he is out there, stopped in front of their house. And they told you when they testified, we saw a black truck, they would come back and around there, and he's parked there. My personal phone was dead. Why'd you use your work phone? Well, my personal phone was dead. Garbage. It's a lie. It wasn't dead. He used it all night long. It maps him everywhere. He's calling people on it. That's a lie. I didn't take her clothes. Where are they? They're not with her. He disposed of her clothes. He threw them away. Did something with them to obscure the crime, not be found. I didn't try to break into Alicia's house. That's a lie. I wasn't stalking Alicia. That's a lie. I didn't hide my face. We just watched the video. Police officer, military man, walking past her apartment with his hand like this over his face, trying to open her door. It's lie after lie after lie, but yet he sits there and they are asking you to believe them now. Sergeant Poppy said it best. If you can't tell us now what happened, how is any jury going to believe you? You can't get up here at trial, you can't argue stuff now when justice is about to be served upon you that none of this happened and that there's other possibilities. He was given every opportunity. He was given every measure to explain if anything else happened. He did not. He sat and lied after lie after lie after lie. He has never told the truth, and he's not telling the truth now. They are not being truthful to you. Susana Morales was murdered. There's no other explanation. Nothing else makes sense. She didn't know him. She wouldn't get into the car with him. She wouldn't have sex with him. How did she end up naked in the woods? There is a principle that I talked about, Occam's razor. It means that the simplest answer is usually the right one.